in all, Grell, you think the right team, the better team on the night went through for you in Inter today?
Yeah, I think so. The team, when you look at their goal difference, it's ridiculous. I mean, they scored 11 goals against Como in 4 games, right? That tells you everything you need to know. And they're in this constant challenge of, I think, mental and physical fatigue. And when they get those 2 boxes checked, there's not a lot of teams that can hang around with them. So, yeah, I do think that the best team won.
Mm-hmm. You agree, Tones?
Yeah, although I thought the better team for 60 minutes was Como in this match, right? But you got to play 90 minutes. We were kind of joking when we came on the desk. If the game was 60 minutes, Como would be pretty good, right? And this just goes to show, I think, the depth, right? Once you start getting into this bench, Kivu pulled the right strings today, but they're 2 players deep in every position. Como just doesn't have that. Right? We kind of felt, and we can talk about getting pinned back or playing deeper. You know, it's one or the other. When you got to kill a game off, you do it either one of 2 ways, with the ball or without the ball. They're not a team that kills games off without the ball in sitting deep like that. And they paid the price today, as we mentioned. A couple of deflected goals, you know, opportunities. It's cruel for Como because they offered so much to the game, and they come out of this with nothing.
I think we still need to remember it's still such a young and inexperienced group, right? This is only their 2nd year back in Serie. They're a team that has found struggles throughout the year, and Fabregas has kept saying, we need to stay focused for 90 minutes. We need to focus on the challenge ahead. The fact that they are here is incredible. The fact that they got to the semifinal.
I don't know. Grella said that the pressure's on them today.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. And I think Fabregas will learn from these semifinals. He'll learn from where he's going. What he's done at this Como, it doesn't take anything away to lose in this fashion to Inter.
I don't know, 2 weeks ago we were talking about this team and how great they are in the story in Champions League football. Now we might be talking about Conference League football. That's a big difference. There's a big difference between
It's Europa League.
It's a big difference between the Conference League. It's still 5 games left. Big difference between the Conference League and the Champions League. For me, one of them is like, wow, what a story. The other one's like, okay. I don't think anyone's getting out of bed
to watch
them.
just even
I don't think
2
anyone's
years
getting out of bed to watch
Grell.
them in the Conference League.
What other team can you say just came up from two leagues, back-to-back promotions? Obviously,
they have one of the richest ownerships in all of Europe.
So did PSG, and it took them a while.
They spent a lot of money. And they spent a lot of money, and I'm not taking anything away from them. Yeah, of course. From 2 years ago, you're saying something different. From 2 years ago, where they were to where they are now, excellent project. The people they have involved, the manager. We sing their praises every weekend, and what they almost just accomplished, by the way, was incredible. So take nothing away from them. But also, we were talking 2-3 weeks ago about Champions League football. Now we're talking about Conference League football. 2 different animals for me.
You have to take into perspective everything. Just because they were doing really well to get into Champions League football doesn't mean that we have to hold them to the standard. Not one person in the world, not even the players themselves or the ownership, would have thought that they'd be fighting for Champions League football.
Is the Champions League? Hold on one second, because I'm getting confused here. If Como made Champions League, is that a better story than them making Conference League?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, but in the perspective of everything, is them making any sort of European football extremely impressive regardless?
Not from where they were a month ago.
I think if you would have said it at the beginning of the year, yes, they make Conference League, you would have been, okay, send them to Conference League. I think the way it's gone and the way that they progressed this season and some of the signs we saw from this team, we thought, oh, there might be a chance that they make Champions League football. It's 4 games in a row now, right? That they've 2 in the league, 2 losses, a draw, and now another loss.
Yeah.
So you've got a draw in the last 4 games. It's a bad time to have a dip like they have, and I think that's what we're looking at, saying, how do you get to this point? So just the way it's happened over the over the last couple of weeks is a little bit surprising, I think, because we maybe built our expectations up too much for Como, right? You say it all the time. They're still a young team, still a young project at the end of the day. But I just think they're going to kick themselves over the last couple of weeks because they're missing out on a few because they were so close.
What about a happy medium between the two? Champions League, Conference League. What about them finishing in Europa League?
Which if the league ended, they would finish.
The league's not over. But what I'm saying is that's why this tournament, this moment was so important. That's why I thought the pressure was on them today. Because okay, fine, you don't get it in the top, you don't get in the Europa League football, but you get it through the Coppa Italia. And okay, it's still impressive. You win a trophy. Not only you have something to show for your progress.
So with your logic, though, if they do qualify to Europa League through the league, that's impressive.
Very impressive. Okay. Very impressive.
Just not Conference League.
No, the Conference League I think is a punishment.
And also, just by the way, I'm hearing
you can't name the teams in the Conference League.
If Inter, well, I can because I cover it obviously every single week, and you're not watching.
You can name half of them.
You're not watching it. if Inter win this competition, by the way, and obviously they finish first, then it leaves an extra place in the table. So Como could still qualify for the Europa League.
He just came up with Conference League out of nowhere, hypothetically.
Going back to the original question,
I
I think there was a lot of pressure on them to get the job done and lift the trophy. Yeah. Everyone knows they're doing a great job.
Yes.
But there's something at the end of the season when you actually, no one's going to go back and remember unless you lift the trophy or unless you get like Champions League football or something like that. That's a memorable season you talk about for years to come. Conference League doesn't move the needle for me.
Is there a difference today, Grella, in the managers and the substitutions? Does that reflect poorly on Cesc? The fact that obviously Kivu did get it right and you boys sat there and said when you saw Dubakas come off, everything kind of changed for Como there.
No, I think that Inter, Kivu was in charge of a well-oiled machine that's got two teams as good as Como's team. So no, I don't think for me it had too much to do with the managers. If anything, I would credit Fabregas because yeah, we're saying he sat too deep in the second half, and I agree. I think he did invite too much pressure. But last time they were winning 2-0, they continued to press and continued to be courageous, and they got 2 goals on the counter and 2 goals from set pieces. So
you're happy that they tried a different way and they tried to sit in even if it was a bit early.
Well, you're in San Siro and you're winning 2-0. I mean, you're gonna get deep as they start to commit more numbers forward. You have to account for those numbers, and you're gonna get deeper just naturally. So. They're better. Inter are better than them, and they have so much quality. Kivu got the substitutions right today. He doesn't always get them right, but I will say, like for Inter moving forward now, I think they had some eye-opening moments in the game. Acerbi, I think, as great as he's been, his story's awesome. Can't play at Inter anymore. I mean, it was a disaster.
Was today a defining match?
Was a disaster.
I feel like we've known for a while, but today 100%.
Because we talk about the guys that came in and changed the game, right? Let's talk about the guys that left that made the game better, by the way. Acerbi, see you later, right, was all over the place today. Probably shouldn't even been in the game anymore with the 2 challenges, one of them inside the box looked like, or right on the top of the box. Di Marco, his legs go at the end of March. His legs are finito. He's got no gas left, and he can't move, and he doesn't show any quality. And Zielinski, if Zielinski doesn't start to understand, before the game started, I said, this is probably one of the best players with the ball in Serie A. When you watch him on the other side of the ball, he doesn't want to defend, doesn't want to recover, doesn't want to track guys. Let Napoli back into a game because he doesn't want to track guys. In big moments, didn't track guys in the Champions League as well. So those 3 guys going out were just as important as the 3 guys coming in. And so that was the moment that the game changed for me.
Credit to Kivu, because what is the story of Kivu? It's the way that he's been able to, number one, get the entire group involved. There's players who feel like they could, even if they sit on the bench, even if they have limited minutes, they could come in and make an impact because he's really good with the group. And then it was getting Hakan Çalhanoğlu involved because there was a serious moment in the summer where it looked like he was going to leave, that he was going to go over to Galatasaray. And Lautaro came out saying anyone who doesn't want to be here can go. Marotta, the president, specifically named him. And the fact that he got the buy-in back from Hakan and how crucial he's been in the season, the goals to get them to win the Scudetto, which they're going to go and win, but now also to lead them to a Coppa Italia final, that's a big credit to Kivu, how he managed the group. So true. And if you can believe it, Grella, the first header that he scored in his Inter career.
Wow.
Maybe a bit like you.
Yeah, that's true. And it was a free one, a free header. I was good at free headers.
Yes, that's true. You didn't like the contested header.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
So really good day, obviously, for those 2. They were impressive in the midfield with the changes. But what about Pep Martínez, Tony? He's had 8 starts this season, 4 of which have come in this competition. You were impressed with him today. If you are, Kivu, do you start him in the final?
I think you have to, right? We've seen over the years managers say, this is our cup goalkeeper, this is our guy in the league. And there's a save early in the game that gave him a sort of a little bit of confidence, took a weird bounce. This is the one for me that changes the game. You think about it. They're up 2-1 at this point. Guys coming on a breakaway, the expectations he's going to score. This one a little easier save in the end, just good positioning. This one here was probably the only play he didn't get to the entire game, almost trying to make too much of it, but you add it up. For me, it's that save, what was it, about 63rd or so minute? That's the one that changes the game for me.
There's not a big difference between him and Sommer, by the way, other than experience and age. But for me, he's just as good in a lot of situations, so I would 100% play with him in the final. Without him today, by the way, okay, we're talking about Sučić and Çalhanoğlu. Without him today, maybe Inter don't get the job done. Because the Diao chance, he just comes on as a sub, and the ball, Acerbi's out to lunch. I don't know what planet he was on today. And Diao goes alone with the keeper, and he judges that timing right. And he just, and the one of them we didn't show, but the great save that he made early on in the game, that he makes it kind of with the shoulder.
Arm save, yeah.
So, yeah, for sure, final, I would play him.
I think the bigger question is where do Inter go moving forward? Because I don't think we really think Sommer is going to be at the club next year. It feels like they're going to move on. There's talks if they're going to go into the transfer market and buy Vicario or Dibu Martínez. Or is this Martínez, say that they find out towards the end of the season he's good enough to be the starter? They spent 25 million on him, and a lot of people questioned it. And they said, oh, you're spending that much on a backup keeper. Inter had other places to spend the money. He proved why he was so important. Fantastic game for him.
Would you guys all keep him for next year as the number one?
I said at the beginning of the year I would, right? He played a couple games at the beginning. I was really, really impressed. Now, of course, the rumors happen. It's the end of the season. For me, I like the way he plays. Pretty steady, doesn't really kill them, doesn't make mistakes, and clearly can make the big save when you need it.
Over Vicario and Dibu?
Well, you guys, I've told Marco he's laughing about it.
He's a big Vicario fan.
You're not a huge fan of Vicario, are you?
I would keep this if I were them.
That's a nice way of saying it. That's class.
What about your Italian Vicario, though?
No, I'm not a big Vicario fan.
No?
We did this segment a long time ago. You remember, Tony? And we had Vicario pretty low.
Inter, by the way, done really well with goalkeepers and money and transfer. Obviously, Onana, they got a lot of money from the Manchester United sale. And now even Jan Sommer came in on, was it almost it felt like a free transfer for what they got, for what they paid for him, right?
They robbed Man United a couple times. They're still looking for that money. So they did well. They did well.
This is the reality for Como, a tale of two halves. The first 67 minutes, you can see what they had, and in terms of the shots on target as well. After 67 minutes, though, it rapidly decreases with the shots and the shots on target, even though we saw Inter dominate. What do you put that down to, Grella? Do you think the difference for Como, is it subs, is it mentality, is it fatigue, or is it just a combination of everything late on in the game for them?
Was that, that was Como or that was Inter?
Well, that was actually Inter, I think, right?
Yeah.
But Como, on the other hand, was the opposite for that.
Well, we had an interesting conversation before, Marco and I. Marco makes a great point. He says, look, why don't they press them? Why doesn't Como go and press them and put them in difficult situations? And then you say, yeah, because they drop so deep. But the issue is before that. The issue is you can never get yourself up the field because you never have the football. Every time you win the football, you're pinned back, right? You win the football, and then the defenders were just going whack, whack, whack because Inter were pressing them so well. So when you do that, you never get a chance to go press up the field. And then Inter get in possession, they get comfortable. I think we saw 69% possession in the last 37 minutes. Now, once Inter in possession, they start sending numbers forward. You got to account for those numbers. You don't just say, oh, no, today I'm just going to go press. No, a guy runs behind you. You got to track him. You can't leave him. So you get put in a situation where you get dragged deeper and deeper and deeper. And every time you win the ball, you turn it over quickly, you get even deeper and more trouble happens. So it's not Como's
feel like
fault.
You're suffocating.
It's not, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
It's not Como's fault. It's what Inter was able to do.
So Inter got better, not necessarily Como getting worse.
Not letting Como have the ball.
Bit of both as well. I think they just did it a little too early, Como. But nevertheless, Inter still probably could have came back because they've proved it before.